Some stories in the royal world are about scandal. This one is about something quieter and, in a way, far more powerful. It is about a young woman who never got to meet the most famous mother-in-law in the world, yet wears her memory on her hand, in her ears, and across her shoulders almost every time she steps in front of a camera. By the time you finish watching this, you will understand why a single sapphire ring matters more than any crown, why a pair of pearl earrings can carry the weight of an entire lifetime, and why some people quietly wonder what the new queen thinks every time she sees those jewels in the spotlight. So stay with me, because there is a lot more to this than sparkle. Let's begin with the moment that started it all. In November 2010, on a quiet holiday beside a lake in Kenya, Prince William proposed to Catherine Middleton. He could have chosen any ring in the world. He was a future king. He had access to vaults full of treasures most of us will never even see in a museum. And yet, when he got down on one knee, he offered her a sapphire. Not just any sapphire. It was a 12-carat Ceylon sapphire surrounded by a halo of diamonds, set in white gold, originally bought from the jeweler's Garrard in 1981. It was the ring his mother, Princess Diana, had chosen for her own engagement to Prince Charles. Think about what that means for a second. William was barely 15 when Diana died in 1997. He grew up in the glare of the whole world watching, carrying a grief most of us could never imagine. And when the time came to start his own family, he reached back across all those years and chose the one object that connected the woman he loved to the mother he lost. He later explained, in his engagement interview, that giving Kate his mother's ring was his way of making sure Diana could be part of the celebration and the journey ahead. Years later, Kate herself spoke about that ring in the most human way possible. During a visit in Wales, when fans noticed it on her hand, she said simply that it was the same ring, exactly the same size, and that she felt honored to wear it even though she never got the chance to meet Diana. That one sentence tells you everything. She wears it not as a trophy, but as a tribute. And here is the detail that most people miss. Kate was never given access to Diana's jewels by any committee, any palace official, or any reigning queen. There was no permission slip. Before she died, Diana left behind what is known as a letter of wishes. In it, she asked that her jewelry be passed to her sons, to keep or to use, leaving the exact division to their judgment. In other words, the jewels were always meant to travel down to the next generation, to the women her boys would one day marry. So when you hear dramatic headlines about Catherine gaining access to a secret collection, remember the truth is gentler and far more moving. A mother who knew she might not see her sons grow up made sure that something of hers would be there on their happiest days. Now let's talk about the pieces themselves, because each one carries its own quiet story. Start with the pearl drop earrings. These were a gift to Diana from the Collingwood jewelers before her wedding in 1981. She wore them constantly, including as part of the outfit she left in when she and Charles set off on their honeymoon. For Diana, they were tied to the very beginning of her married life. Decades later, Kate began wearing those same earrings to state banquets and major royal occasions. There is something almost cinematic about it. The earrings that framed Diana's face as a nervous young bride now frame the face of the woman who carries her title. Then there are the sapphire and diamond drop earrings, designed to match that famous engagement ring. Diana, who loved to style her jewels in her own way, sometimes wore the central sapphire as a pendant on a necklace. Kate has worn these earrings to some of her most important public moments, including her first official state visit after becoming Princess of Wales. Watch the color blue follow this family through the generations, and you start to feel how deliberate it all is. There is the 3-strand pearl bracelet, a simple and elegant piece Diana favored, which Kate brought out on royal tour abroad. There are the diamond and South Sea pearl earrings, a Diana favorite which Kate famously wore to the BAFTA Awards and again to King Charles's coronation. Imagine that. On the single most historic day of the new reign, with the entire world watching the crown change heads, The Princess of Wales chose to wear her late mother-in-law's earrings. That was not an accident. That was a message, sent without a single word. And there is the feather brooch, an unusual piece featuring delicate feathers around a coronet, which is believed to be reserved for those holding the actual title of Princess of Wales. Kate wore it for the first time only after her title officially changed in 2022, following the death of Queen Elizabeth. The timing was its own kind of statement, a way of saying, "This role is mine now, and I will honor the woman who held it before me." Of course, the most breathtaking piece of all is the tiara. The lover's knot tiara, with its hanging pearls and shimmering diamond arches, was one of Diana's signature pieces. She wore it so often that, for many people, it became part of her image. After her death, it sat largely unseen for years. Then Kate began wearing it again to glittering state occasions, and suddenly an entire generation that had only known it from old photographs of Diana saw it come alive on someone new. For longtime royal watchers, those first sightings were genuinely emotional. It was like seeing a ghost gracefully step back into the light. So where does the talk of tension come in? This is where we have to be honest with you, because there is a difference between what is documented and what is merely whispered. Across countless articles, social media posts, and online channels, you will find the suggestion that Queen Camilla is somehow unhappy about all of this. The story usually goes something like this. Camilla, now the most senior woman in the royal family, is said to feel uneasy watching the younger princess shine in Diana's jewels, given the long and painful history between Camilla, Charles, and Diana during the years of that troubled first marriage. It is a tidy, dramatic narrative. It practically writes itself. But here is what you need to know. There is no credible, confirmed evidence that Camilla has expressed any displeasure about Kate wearing Diana's jewelry. No verified statement, no on-the-record source, nothing solid. What exists is speculation, the kind that grows naturally around a family whose past is so well known and so emotionally charged. People look at the history, they look at the jewels, and they fill in the blanks with the story they expect to be true. And that is really the heart of this whole subject. The royal jewels are not just objects. They are screens onto which the public projects decades of memory and emotion. When people see Kate in Diana's tiara, some feel comfort, as if a beloved figure is being honored. Others feel a pang, wondering how the surviving players in that old drama must feel. The jewels themselves stay silent. We are the ones who supply the feelings. It is worth remembering, too, that Camilla has her own remarkable collection and her own access to historic royal pieces, some with their own deep connections to the past. The world of royal jewelry is not a competition with a single prize. It is a long chain of inheritance, gifts, loans, and traditions stretching back centuries. The idea that one woman wins and another loses is a story we tell because conflict is more exciting than continuity. The reality is usually far less dramatic and far more about duty than rivalry. What we can say for certain is this. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has chosen, again and again, to weave Diana's memory into her most visible moments. The engagement ring on royal tour, the earrings at the coronation, the tiara at state banquets. These are deliberate choices made by a woman who understands exactly what they mean to the public and, you sense, to her husband and her children. Every time she wears one of these pieces, she keeps a door open between the present and a past that ended far too soon. There is a tenderness in that which no headline about a feud can capture. William lost his mother as a boy. His children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, will never know their grandmother except through stories and photographs, and yes, through these very jewels. One day, perhaps, some of these pieces will travel down again, to Charlotte or to the women her brothers may marry, and the chain will stretch on a little further. Diana's wish, written in the shadow of her own fears, will keep coming true long after everyone reading the headlines today is gone. So when you see the dramatic titles, the ones promising secret battles and a furious queen, take them for what they usually are. A story built on a kernel of real history and a mountain of imagination. The documented truth is quieter, and honestly, more beautiful. A young woman who never met her husband's mother carries that mother with her into the brightest rooms in the world, on her hand, at her ears, and above her head. Nobody really loses in this story. Diana's wishes are being honored. Her memory stays alive in front of millions. Her son gets to see something of his mother in the woman he loves. And the public gets to feel, for a few seconds at a time, that someone they adored is not entirely gone. If there is any quiet sadness in the background, it belongs to the past, to old wounds that the rest of us can only guess at, and that are not really ours to narrate as fact. In the end, jewels are just stones and metal until people pour meaning into them. And few families in history have poured more meaning into their treasures than this one. That is what makes a sapphire ring more powerful than a crown, and a pair of pearl earrings heavier than they have any right to be. If this story made you see those famous pieces a little differently, let me know what you think in the comments, and consider subscribing, because the history hidden inside the royal vaults runs deeper than almost anyone realizes, and there are many more stories like this one still waiting to be told.